Alright, hello and welcome to Armored Warfare with Gorlans Army. My name is Ralix, and today I will be reviewing the Tier 6 Premium Tank Destroyer, the Taifun II. Now, this Taifun II, a couple things to note about it are its DPM and penetration are incredibly good. It's got 581 damage on its heat rounds, and with 287 penetration on those. It has a ridiculous DPM of 8,600 per minute, which is phenomenal for this tier in any tank. The hit points are average at 1445. It's what all tank destroyers of this tier get. It's a little slower than the other tank destroyers at 70 kilometers an hour. It builds up that speed very quickly at 4.7 to 32 kilometers an hour. Its camo is very good, and its view range is, again, average at 402 meters, just like all the other tank destroyers. Now, this is where it starts to differ from the other tank destroyers, is that it's got 12 degrees of gun depression, which is phenomenal. I believe it's twice as much as the B1 Centauro gets. It's got 32 degrees of turret traverse, which is less than the B1 Centauros, but you have to remember that the turret on this thing is just this little gun right here. It doesn't have a full turret, so it will only turn the gun inside of there, which 32 degrees is more than fast enough. I think it has about 45 to 50 degrees of hull traverse, which is phenomenal. It's got a 4.2 second reload if you get the right retrofits on it. The crew, it's got an accuracy of 0.07 degrees, which is incredibly good for long-range sniping. It has a 2.1 second target time, which is, again, very, very good. The max turret rotation of 30 degrees. Now, the armor on this thing is nothing noteworthy. It's got 50 millimeters in the front, 35 in the side, and 25 in the rear. It doesn't have a turret, and this is where this thing uses its armor, is in not being hit, because it has such a low profile. You can do some really good ridge poking with this, because it has 12 degrees, a low profile, and a very powerful gun that can target quickly. Now, you can bounce some small arms fire, like 30mm machine guns, off the front, because it's well sloped, but I wouldn't count on it. They can still chew you apart. Now, the commander I use on this tank right now is Freya, but there are 3 commanders I would recommend using. I would recommend Freya or Juan Carlos if you want to do a lot of DPM. They have a 10% reduction in reload time, which is very, very good if you just want to get a lot of DPM out there, which I do right now. I'm on a big old DPM spree. Another one would be Sabrina Washington if you want to be very, very sneaky with really good camo. She will increase your view range, your aim speed, and your camo factors. Even when you're firing, your camo will stay better with her in your tank, so if you want to be sneaky, go with Sabrina. If you want to be a little more mobile, go with Rashid Al-Atassi, because he'll increase your hull traverse by 15%, and if you're near ally vehicles, you also get the reduction in reload time that Freya and Juan give you. The downside being that those are really the only 2 things he gives you. You get some module damage, but this turret traverse and ATGM reload doesn't affect this tank at all. So for the crew, I have off-road driving to increase my acceleration off-road in case I need to get out of a bad situation. I also have spin to win to help me engage any AFVs or light tanks that are trying to circle me. For my gunner, I have quick draw, which helps my aim speed, which is very, very good. I also have marksman, which means I'm more accurate at longer ranges, which is perfect for tank destroyers. For my loader, I have preparation, which helps my reload. Again, I'm on this big ol' DPM spree at the moment. I also have explosive shells, which increase module damage by 20%, which is very, very good. As the heat rounds on this are incredible. They have 287 millimeters of penetration and do 581 damage, which is very, very solid. They can shred through the side of most MBTs that don't have explosive reactive armor on the sides. And even if they do, you can load your AP rounds that have 326 millimeters of penetration and do 465 damage per shot, which is very, very good for AP rounds. Now, I don't carry too many HE rounds. I just have them on there in case I need to reset a cap very quickly and can't afford to bounce a shell, which is very, very rare in this tank. I haven't come into a situation where I need to do that. All the ammo performs very well in the beginning of a game, which is good. For the consumables, I run different than what I do on my T-Series. I run an energy drink and protein bars, which helps my reload. It helps how fast the tank turns. It helps how fast it aims, everything else. The problem with running a setup like this is that it's going to cost you 26,000 credits every battle, win or loss, because it's a passive boost and it's in effect the entire battle. Now, I also recommend, if you don't want to spend that 26,000 credits per battle, I recommend that you go with the medical kit and the spare parts, as they will only cost money if you use them. As on all of my tanks, I recommend an auto fire extinguisher because I really don't like fires, and I think it's worth it to put those out instantly without having to worry about hitting keys on the keyboard. And for retrofits, again, I've been on a massive DPM spree, so I have an advanced thermal sleeve to increase my reload time, I have gyroscopic stabilizers to increase my reload and aim time, and I also have the Mark II enhanced shell materials, which will increase my reload time and moving accuracy. So if I'm turning very quickly and I need to shoot something, it helps me take those snapshots very, very effectively. So all in all, I think the Taifun II, I personally think, on paper at least, that this thing is a phenomenal Tier 6 premium tank destroyer that will earn you lots of credits and lots of experience. So we're going to go ahead and take it into some PvP battle to see if the numbers actually perform well in the fight. I'll see you there. Alright, here we are on River Point to test out the Taifun II on the battlefield to see if it's any good. Good map, River Point. I like it in my tank destroyers, and I like spawning on this northern end of the map in my tank destroyers. There are two spots that tank destroyers usually go on this map, at least on the northern side. You have C1 over there on the western side of the map, which will help suppress any guys trying to come down the west, and you also have B7, which will help immensely with suppressing any fire coming down the eastern side of the map, while the MBTs deal with the middle. Now, usually you have the west side covered by AFVs and your light tanks with some tank destroyers behind them. And on this side of the map, you usually have a tank destroyer where that Fox is at, covering the 8 line under the highway, and you usually have a tank destroyer in this spot where I'm at right now, hiding behind these bushes to stop anything coming up the 7 line unopposed. And a thing to note in your tank destroyers is that you have to be patient. You're not going to see enemies right off the bat, and you shouldn't be spotting for yourself. Otherwise, you will probably be inside their view range, and you'll get spotted and die, which you don't want to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit here and we're in this bush, and we're going to wait for some guys to scout for us. And then once enemies are spotted, then we'll move up. Now, if you're in a tank destroyer and nothing's spotted and you can't see any of the enemy team, or if the enemy team is spotted and you don't have shots on anything, it's time to reposition. You don't want, once everything's spotted on the map or you have a good count on things, make sure you move into a position where you can fire effectively from the back. And so we're sitting here in a bush. We have our AP ammunition loaded because there's actually quite a few tough MBTs on their team. There's a Challenger 1, a Leo 2AV, and MBT 70. All of those have fairly thick armor, so we want to get our AP rounds loaded so we don't bounce off the front of the vehicles. So here we go. Our M60A3 has decided to move up and scout for us. We are going to cover him as he does so. And we're sitting in a position where we can use our 12 degrees of gun depression very, very well. We can poke it right over this hill, and we can shoot at without being hit as easily. You see us, we're using our sniper ability right now, which is new as of patch 0.12, and that ability allows us to fire without having our gun destroy our camo as much. So it takes away less from your camo when you fire with that ability. It only works for 3 shots and a limited amount of time. And once you've used it once, you can use it again after 1 minute. It has a 1 minute cooldown. There's not a max number of uses though. So here Artie is aiming at us and we're spotted, so we pull back. You can see that the backwards acceleration on this thing is actually very good, doing 45 kilometers an hour up a slight slope, and we're going to try to get some shots on this MBT 70. Fire one, hit his tracks, and move because you do not want to be out in front of an MBT 70's gun. It will do a massive amount of damage to you. So we're going to fire another one, try to get a side shot, and track him. And again, we pull down so we don't get shot at, and we just let our allies finish him off. So we're going to go right back up into our position behind the bushes, and we're going to fire. We bounced off the T-80, unfortunately, but we see a challenge that we can engage. Also, artillery is still blind firing at us because we're a lightly armored tank destroyer, very soft and very easy to kill. A note about the suppression ability is that you have to be stopped for a moment before you can use it. And that's why it turned on late, and that's why I turned it on late there, is because I hadn't been stopped for any amount of time and I got spotted for it. And right now you can just see the rate of fire of this gun just go to work and completely tear apart the Challenger 2 that was in front of us. So far in this game we've done 3,200 damage, and it's not even 5 minutes old yet. So here we go. We outnumber the enemies 2-1 now, and this is where you can move up with your tank destroyers and start getting a little risky. This is where you can just engage the enemy and go ham. Because even if you die, you're probably not going to affect the outcome very much. Still, don't try to die, but you can move up now and be a little more in their faces. So here you can see that the Taifun II will actually do 75 kilometers in a straight line on a road. In the garage, it's only posted at 70, which is nice. You get that little extra bit of speed there. Now you can also see that it's fairly wiggly. It wiggles very quickly. In this replay, you did not get to see how fast it could wiggle, unfortunately, which is it can wiggle very quickly and re-engage targets that try to get around it very easily. Also, since this is a premium vehicle, it earns more credits, reputation, and experience than any other vehicle. And what I mean by experience versus reputation is reputation I use for vehicles, and the experience is for crews. So here we go. We're going to have a quick look at the post-battle results here really quickly and see how well we did. Here we are. You can see we got 3,500 experience, 214,000 credits, which is very, very good for this tier, especially for this tier. You can also see that we were 4th on the team in experience earned, and damage done we were top. And we also made a profit of 170,000 credits, which is very good. Right now, this tank is for sale for $40, I believe, on the Armored Warfare website. Links in the description. If you guys like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you feel so inclined. I put reviews like this out once every week at the very least, and I'll see you guys next time.